Out of that protest by Colin Kaepernick, 49ers quarterback knelt instead of standing during the national anthem at last night's game. He was not alone. ABC's Kana Whitworth was there and joins us now from San Diego. Good morning, Kana.
So the real discussion here today is, are athletes really more than just an athlete? I'm here with my fellow co-worker and the grad assistant of Hartford men's basketball, Brendan Gomez. How are you this evening?
I'm good, Kay. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. A little cold out, but it's all right. So let's get right to it. Let's just discuss. What are your opinions on athletes having a voice and the idea of athletes being more than just an athlete? Because you see athletes like LeBron standing up and giving more of his opinions on certain issues, and he's being ridiculed for his voice and his opinion. So what are your thoughts upon that and what he speaks for?
I think it's really important for athletes to be more than an athlete, because a lot of them have come up in a bad neighborhood and have had bad experience throughout their life. Obviously different experiences, but they've seen a lot of things and they travel around the world to play games every day, and millions of people watch them play. And while they play, they have young kids that want to be role models or want them to be role models. And if they see them stand up for what they believe is right and can benefit for society, the kids will follow. And the only thing that we have going on for our society today is to show our next generation what is right. And it's just a trickle-down effect from there.
I actually, I agree with everything you're saying. I even brought up LeBron, but there's even bigger instances like Colin Kaepernick, who, took the biggest stand on what he believed in and was definitely ridiculed for it. He's probably one of the top quarterbacks within the league. He could definitely be on a team. And just because, he had an opinion about something, it ruined his career as an athlete, and it's just not fair. It's not equal advantage when it comes to that. But, for certain instances, I know if a certain athlete, certain type of athletes did something like that, then they wouldn't really be punished for their actions. So a month ago, 2 months ago, I don't know if you remember this, but he had tryouts, and many people, including myself, think those tryouts were just a cover-up. So what are your whole opinions on Colin Kaepernick, and do you think those tryouts were really just a cover-up, or were they giving him an equal, fair chance to, get his spot back, his position within the league? What are your opinions on that?
Like you said, I was watching Colin Kaepernick when he was on San Francisco as a backup of Alex Smith, and we all know he's a great player and can help any team out there in the NFL. And I actually did a report on Colin Kaepernick for my class, and I even talked about him doing this whole kneeling thing during the national anthem, and he specifically said, a lot has been going on with my type of people, which he's talking about, obviously, the African-American community and the killings with the police and everything like that. And he said it's just to a point where it's bigger than football. And it is, because for someone like him to stand up, there were people before him that were not standing up, and maybe a couple people that he talked to throughout his community did talk about this incident going on with the police and all that. And he understands that he needs to build a foundation for the fountain of youth to understand what is going on. And I understand about this whole cover-up thing going on with the tryouts that he had, and I completely agree that it's a cover-up, because the NFL was taking a lot of heat. And throughout this whole thing with Colin Kaepernick and players actively playing, backing up Colin Kaepernick, it made it worse for the NFL because there were a lot of media coverage on it, and it's no positive, because it just, once he started kneeling, things have gotten worse, and people started to see what was going on in society. And having the players back him up really brought a lot of attention to the NFL that they didn't want. So then came the tryout that recently just happened. And I believe it was a cover-up, because professional organizations don't want controversy. That's the last thing they need, because they're focused on so many other external affairs. But with this controversy, they wanted to take a stand and say, okay, let's try to meet in the middle and try to have everybody on our side and bring in all the viewers, because at the end of the day, it's all about the money. And if they bring in Colin Kaepernick, they know they're going to get more viewers.
And even on top of that, he was doing so well within the league, and he was at his high point. He was at the pinnacle of his career where, you know, he was making a lot of money. He was playing very well. His team was doing well. And, you know, he stepped aside to look at, you know, how's everybody else doing. And, you know, he stood up for what he believed in. And he didn't even have to do that. But just by him doing that, it has changed so much now since then. But now this kind of ties in with, you know, athlete security in general, because once he did that, he started getting threats from regular fans and day-to-day people, and he started getting ridiculed by former players and players that now play. And it's actually kind of crazy to see, just because you think that you have freedom of speech, but yet your freedom of speech is so limited. And even athlete security in general is very limited as well. Like, going way back, like a while ago, I don't know if you remember Plexico Burress used to play for the Giants. He felt so unsafe in his day-to-day life outside the field that he carried a gun on him. And, you know, that one gun, you know, going off, that one bullet ended his career playing in the league, shot himself in the leg, and he was done after that. You know, they didn't want that noise around their team and their organization, so they let him go. And it's really not his fault. It's just that he felt so unsafe being who he was on the outside, just by regular day-to-day people. And it even expands further past him, like security within play and out of play. I think they're at the same level right now, and they definitely shouldn't be. Like, I remember Russell Westbrook a couple of months ago, actually. He was playing and he got into foul trouble, and he subbed out the game, and he sat on the floor and started stretching. And then a fan said something to him that is absolutely degrading. It was terrible, and Russ reacted back to it. I actually have the video right here. We can take a look at it.
I'm gonna say one thing. I'll up. He said, I promise you. See, I'm playing. I swear to God. You and your wife.
Obviously, everybody's talking about the same video, but the realization of it is how it started was a young man and his wife in the stands told me to get down on my knees like he used to. And for me, that's just completely disrespectful to me. I think it's racial. I think it's just inappropriate in a sense of there's no protection for the players. I think there are a lot of great fans around the world that like to come to the game and enjoy the game. And there are people that come to the game and to say mean, disrespectful things about me, my family. For many years, man, I've done all the right things. I've never done anything to hurt or harm anybody. I've never been in any trouble. Never fought a fan. Been in the league 11 years. Clean slate. Humble. I take all the criticism from everybody. I've been doing the same thing for years. And for me, disrespect would not be taken from me. I'm completely just sit back sometime and just take it like that's just one video, but throughout the whole game, since I've been here, especially here in Utah, every time I come here, it's a lot of disrespectful things I said. And for me, I'm just not going to continue to take the disrespect from my family.
So you see in this video that he had a reaction towards what the fan said. And you would think that the fan got serious charges pressed against them and everything, but it was actually the opposite. The fan, they only got kicked out that one game. And it's not till now that they actually got suspended from all Utah's games. But it took that long for them to get, punished for doing something like that. And Russell Westbrook, he got fined for what he said. They were thinking about suspension. I think they did suspend it for a game. And, there's more cases like this. And I could go on and on about this. But, how do you feel these matters should be taken care of? Can you think of any situations that are, close to this or has happened in any league?
Yeah, it was last year when the Toronto Raptors were playing against the Golden State Warriors. And Kyle Lowry went for a loose ball and jumped into the crowd to save it. And he ran into the Golden State Warriors owner or part owner, but he was a big time corporate member within the organization. And when he bumped into him, he, for some reason, put his hands on Kyle Lowry and tried to push him. And no one saw it. But Kyle Lowry and national television, they saw that. The NBA was not going to penalize him until Kyle Lowry spoke up, and then many players were backing him up. So this goes back to my example with Colin Kaepernick and the players backing him up. Professional organizations and the league does not like controversy. So when they saw their players speaking up about this matter, they decided to take actions to their own hand and be on the player's side.
I do actually remember that happening within the game. And when we talk about the crowd having contact with the players, I've seen in many other different games where projectiles and stuff like food and stuff. You know what? I can even bring up an example going back to around 1970 something, before my time, BK, before K-Von, a while back. There was the riot in the Indiana Pacers stadium where Ron Artest got into an argument with Ben Wallace. Was it Ben Wallace? Do you remember that game?
Yes, it was called the Malice of the Palace.
Malice of the Palace. There we go. So, Malice of the Palace, one of the biggest, sports controversy things to ever happen. Ron Artest, known as Metta World Peace now. I don't know if he changed his name back. But
no, I think it's Metta World Peace.
Yeah, it's Metta World Peace still? Okay, so he got into an argument with a player from the other team. And, things got a little heated. Players started fighting each other. And they were thrown out the game. That's usually what happens in sports. Sports gets competitive. A player fights a player. They get what they get. They get thrown out the game and they move on to the next play. But while he was getting thrown out, as he's walking out, a fan threw something at him, like food and a shoe or something like that. A fan threw something at him. Now, him being a person, he has emotions. He went and attacked the fan, and all the fans came and attacked him. Some players tried to stop it. It was just a huge brawl within, that arena. But at the same time, no fan should have the right or should even think hurting or coming in contact with a player in that way. And it's kind of crazy because it makes me think, we're both around college athletes a lot, being around the basketball team and such. You have to think, if security is so bad at this level of play, imagine what it's like for college athletes. College athletes, they don't have a voice. If professional athletes, struggle having a voice and get looked down upon for speaking up, imagine how a college athlete feels when it's time for them to speak up. Mm-hmm. They have no voice or no say, or at least that's what it feels like to them. I've talked to a few players. When it comes to certain stuff, they're very hesitant of saying certain things because it could affect the program, something bigger than themselves. That's how they view that. And it's actually kind of sad to see. And security, oh Lord, the security, the student section is literally right next to the bench everywhere we go. So, I mean, when you talk about fans coming into contact with players, it's gotten better now because now there's security guards that sit behind the benches and, watch out for the coach. You see actions being taken where fans get thrown out. But even when we went to Texas a few weeks back, there was one fan, he had to get thrown out because it was absurd, how they go after players. They're just humans. Matter of fact, they're student athletes are just young adults. Right. And adults is adults, so adults can, deal with it a little bit more. But imagine what a young athlete has to go through at the time. So I kind of want to ask you, should college athletes be able to truly speak upon issues they believe in? Or should they, do you think what they say will be effective or have any effect or have any voice, level, power, anything towards those issues?
Yeah, like I said earlier, I completely agree with, and I stand behind with what LeBron and all of them are doing. And some people can say that the reason why the professional athletes are doing this is just for their benefit because they're already millionaires and they're thinking, well, the people might think LeBron and them just want more attention to bring in more money. These college athletes don't have anything but a full scholarship, which is unbelievably amazing because they get an education. But what they're saying is coming from their experience and their soul, because them saying this is not going to do anything for them. They're not getting paid to say this. They're not going to the NBA or the NFL or the MLS, whatever sport they play, to say this. They're saying it because it's an actual concern. So this is literally coming from what they believe in and what they've experienced.
I agree with that. It's a fight for the people. It's definitely an argument that goes on that still will forever go on. It's a forever going on argument. Like I said, we both work with athletes all the time, and to see them struggle on just their busy schedule and have to worry about, holding themselves to such a high standard all the time, just so they represent all of us in a positive light. I hope that there's some change within the system at all levels of athletics. I remember someone said a quote. Megan Rapinoe?
Yes.
Yeah, the women's soccer player. She's an amazing player. But I just pulled up her quote, and it says, I feel like it's actually everybody's responsibility to use whatever platform they have to do good in the world, basically, and to try to make our society better. Whether you're an accountant or an activist or an athlete or whatever it is, I think it's everybody's responsibility. So when she says everybody's responsibility, that means fans, athletes, owners. Everybody got to take, ownership and accountability for their actions, just making the place a better place. I think it's really good to have these discussions so people can hear it and, understand the importance of what it means to be a great person. Not even a good person, a great person. And I think that's very important. So, Brandon, I would like to thank you for your time, and this has been a valuable discussion, so thank you.